This story was written by BadandyTheRed. I received the first message 3 days ago. I was on my break at work, and I got a text notification. It was odd. It was from an unknown number. Normally, I ignored those sorts of messages. Spammers and the like usually showed up with those types of auto texts. But this one was different. It was so strange because no number showed up at all. Just the message. Hide and seek? I thought someone might have the wrong number for a friend they were trying to get in touch with to play a game, apparently. So I responded. I think you have the wrong number. Not sure who you're trying to reach, but they're not here. I went about the rest of my workday and was just wrapping things up. When I pulled my phone from my bag, I saw I had another text waiting for me. Same number, or lack of number. It was just another blank line where the number should display, and the message read the same as before. Hide and seek? I was confused and slightly annoyed, so I responded again. Like I said before, I think you have the wrong number. Who is this? Who are you trying to get a hold of to play hide and seek? I waited, staring at the screen for a minute, and I was about to put it away when I saw a response. You hide and seek? My patience had reached its limit, and I figured if they would not answer, then I would just block the non-existent number and hope it would work. Despite the lack of a visible number, the option on the message thread still presented itself, so I was relieved when the weird conversation vanished. I got in my car and started to drive home. I got another notification as I got on the road, and used my car's text-to-speech to read it to me. It was Mike, my roommate. He was asking me to pick up more beer from the store, since he had apparently finished off what we had. I groaned at the message and the fact that I was always the one to buy it for us. It was getting old, but I needed a drink after the night I had, so I sent him a message back. I can this time, but if you're gonna keep drinking everything we have, then you better start paying for it. I stopped by a nearby gas station close to our apartment and grabbed a case of Miller and continued home. As soon as I got back in the car, I received another text. I was getting annoyed already since I figured it was Mike complaining about being out of something else. But instead, the text-to-speech read out the message, and I knew it was something else. Seek. Drink? It made sense now, and I immediately called Mike. He answered after several rings and sounded stoned. Hey man, what's up? Did you grab the beer? Yeah, I did. Are you messing with me? How are you sending those messages? When I call you, I can see your number, but not when you sent that weird text. What kind of app are you using? Also, what's the point? I'm not home yet, I can't play hide and seek. Never mind that I'm not 5 years old. The seek drink thing was a bit of a giveaway for whatever weird game you're playing. There was a brief pause, and he responded. Not sure what you mean, man. I didn't send anything like that. Weird. Who wants to play hide and seek? Anyway, get home, man. My buzz is fading. He hung up on me, and I was even more confused. If he had not sent the message, who did? I drove home, feeling a little on edge. When I got back inside, Mike greeted me at the door. And of course, by greeted, I mean he took the case of beer and walked to the fridge, removed 2, and sat back down on the couch. Nice to see you too, I mumbled under my breath. I wanted to ask again about the weird message, but I just shrugged and grabbed a drink for myself and lumbered to my room. I was tired, so I decided to call it an early night. When I stepped into my room, my phone buzzed, and I saw another text from no number. Almost time. Hide or seek. I was getting creeped out at that point. I didn't know how the messages kept getting through after blocking it. I decided to respond again. Stop messaging me. I don't know who this is, and I do not want to play. Leave me alone. I hit send and tried blocking it again. This time I turned my phone off for good measure. I tried to settle down and just go to sleep. I managed to nod off for a bit, but after a while I heard a knock at my door. I jolted up and heard the slurring voice of Mike. Hey man, I don't know what the hell, but I think someone's trying to get a hold of you. I just got a trippy message, and it sounded like what you were talking about earlier. Check it out. I rushed to the door and saw Mike looking at his phone in a confused stupor. I grabbed it from him and looked at the message. Last chance. Hide or seek. My heart sank, and I felt a wave of panic rising in my chest. I asked Mike, "When did you get this?" He shrugged his shoulders. "A while ago, man. I don't remember exactly. I wasn't looking at my phone. What's going on?" I stepped back into my room and turned my own phone back on. And sure enough, I had a missed message. Okay. You. Hide. I stared at the words in mounting fear. I had no idea what to do, but I suddenly felt exposed. I considered calling the police, but I didn't know what I would tell them. Nothing had happened, only a creepy text thread. Yet something felt wrong, like something bad was about to happen. I looked over at Mike, and he looked confused and a bit paranoid as well. Before I could try and explain things, the lights went out. At first, I thought it might be a power outage, but then I heard the slow creaking sound of the front door opening, despite being sure I'd locked it when I got home. Terror gripped me, and I knew something was very wrong. I crouched down in the dark and whispered to Mike the only thing I could think to say. Hide. I crawled on my floor and under my bed. I was about to call 911 when my phone suddenly died as well. It was on one moment and then just lost power, despite having over half a charge left. I put the useless device in my pocket and tried to see if there was anything I could use as a light source. I froze and thought better about moving when I heard a strange shuffling sound. Then heavy footsteps, much heavier than Mike's. And I noticed the temperature in the room had dropped suddenly, and it felt like it was freezing. As the footsteps resounded and moved closer, I smelled a fetid tinge in the air as well, like something rotten. I crawled as far back and huddled up as small as I could make myself under the bed, and held my breath. I heard my closet door gently shutting, and thought it might be Mike hiding in there. Then the heavy footsteps picked up the pace. I suddenly realized if I could hear the door closing, whatever the hell was in here with us could hear it too. I considered calling out to Mike to move, but fear froze my voice. The heavy footsteps were in the room now. Despite my efforts to try and see what stalked us, I couldn't make anything out. I sat there, silent and immobile, holding my breath and waiting. After several long moments, I thought we might be safe. Then I heard the door to the closet break and shatter. Then Mike screamed, a haunting and nightmare-inducing shriek. Something had found him. The cry of terror was suddenly silenced. I didn't hear anything violent, just the scream, and then utter silence. I had no idea what the hell had just happened. For a long while, I sat there paralyzed with fear, until finally the light came back on. When I summoned the courage to creep out from under the bed and see what had happened, I was shocked when laying on the ground was the shattered remains of my closet door. Despite the ruin of the door, there were no traces of anyone or anything else. Mike had vanished. I slowly called out, louder and more emboldened as I moved into the hall where the light was on again. No one responded. No one else was there. I stumbled through the apartment searching for my roommate, but he was gone. Worse still, I had no idea just where the hell he had gone. No trace of Mike had shown up in the next couple of days. I didn't know if anything would. I thought he could finally be declared missing, but I didn't know if it would do any good. It was impossible, but whatever had broken into our place had found him, and now he was missing. He had lost hide and seek with that thing. Whatever it was, took him away. The entire nightmare was unbelievable. Yet, even now, as I tried to write this log about my friend's impossible disappearance, I was shocked when I received another text. Hide and seek? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what this was. I decided I should respond again, a different way this time. I thought maybe it might help, might keep me safe from whatever or whoever is doing this. My reply was one word: seek. I had no idea what to do, or where to go after I sent the response. I certainly was not going to try and hide again, but I panicked at first. After sending the one-word reply, I thought I'd made a huge mistake. I figured maybe there was some bizarre time limit or trick to the game, and if I didn't find whoever I was looking for in time, maybe they would show up and take me away just like Mike. Before that message came, I was planning on going to the police and having Mike declared missing. I thought maybe someone could explain what happened or know where to look. But the more I considered it, the crazier it sounded. If anyone could help me find him, it would be great. But I was also afraid of what else I might find. On top of that, I couldn't shake the sinking feeling that searching for him was a bad idea. Then the message came, and I answered. At first, I just fumbled around in a tense state of paranoia in my apartment. Yet, after several minutes of searching, I found nothing. There was nothing to indicate that the entity that was in my home before was there now. No weird power outages, no terrible stench. The horrific calling cards of that nightmarish presence were all absent. I started worrying about some implicit time limit again. Then my phone buzzed, and I saw I received another strange message from no number. You know all the hiding spots in your home. Let's play somewhere else. 727 Cherry Street. More fun there. Despite the ominous message, I had an address at least, though an actual location made the next part feel terribly real. Worse still, it meant that I had no excuse to not go and look. I thought for a moment of just leaving. I considered if I left, it might go after someone else. I hated to admit it, but I didn't have a strong moral compulsion to save Mike. He was a bad roommate and kind of a dick, but when I remembered the sound of his scream as whatever was hunting us found him, when I think of how he lost hide and seek, then I reconsider, despite my fear. No one deserved that fate, whatever happened to him. Even if it was just a remote chance to find him, and even better, save myself, I would take it. Maybe if I won the game, whoever or whatever was messaging me would leave me alone. I looked up the address in my phone and saw it was a real place and not too far away from my apartment. I started for the door, but before I left, I went to Mike's room. I grabbed the footlocker in his closet. I opened the case and recovered the handgun I knew he owned. If I did find some psychopath or monster where I was going, at least I would be armed. I ran outside and hopped in my car, and in the next 5 minutes, I was on Cherry Street, looking for the right number. I wasn't very familiar with the place, but the section I needed to check wasn't too large. As I drove through, I saw the entire neighborhood was in a bad way. It never really recovered from the recession, and a lot of houses were unoccupied. I finally found 727, and the place was a derelict. It looked condemned, and many windows were either broken or boarded up, and the whole place looked like it was falling apart. I pushed past tons of encroaching blackberry bushes on the cracked steps leading to the front door. There were notifications all along the front of the house warning people to stay out. I knew no one could be living there in the state it was in. Yet I got a strange feeling when I stood in front of the door. I knew this was the right address, so I stepped up to the crumbling edifice and reached for the handle. The door swung open on painfully loud, rusty hinges, giving it the charmingly terrible sound of a proper haunted house. I was second-guessing my decision almost immediately, and I considered turning back again. But another message arrived. Hurry up. 9 minutes left. Or you lose. I didn't like what losing implied, and I turned on my flashlight and started fumbling through the dust-choked house. I wasn't sure if I should bother calling out to see if Mike was there, or if it would just give away my position and allow for whatever was hiding in there to move to another spot. I knew at that point I had less than 10 minutes to play a real game of hide and seek. I hurried along, gripping the handle of the gun so tightly my fingers hurt. Whatever was here, if I found it, I wasn't going to let it try and start another game. 2 minutes had passed, and I knew my time was ticking down. I could barely see even with the flashlight, and since the power was out, none of the interior lights would work. I thought I'd cleared most of the living room and the closets in the downstairs hall. I opened a door and saw stairs leading down to a basement. I was about to head downstairs when I received another message. Colder. Try harder. Running out of time. I shut the door and took a step back. I closed my eyes, trying to focus on searching and not the looming dread of the time ticking down. And suddenly, I caught the scent of a familiar stench wafting from upstairs. I turned and walked to the base of the stairs. and I felt a terrible pressure in my head and heard another notification. Warmer. I swallowed hard and forced myself to ascend the stairs. I had to hold back the urge to gag at the smell coming from somewhere up there. I didn't like the idea, but I figured I would follow the fetid odor and see if it would help me locate my target. I moved slowly into a bedroom at the end of the hall and had to pull my shirt up over my face to keep the worst of the smell out. I had a strong feeling I was close, so I summoned my courage and rushed into the room. When I shined the meager light inside, I thought I was going to be sick. It was dozens of rotting bodies, moldering on the floor in various states of decomposition. I retched and almost threw up as I reeled from the sight. As I recovered, I looked around and saw even more carcasses, and I realized in horror that there were at least 20 of them that I could see. Near the center, my light landed on a familiar face, and to my horror, I realized I'd found him. Not the hidden horror I was seeking, but Mike. Or rather, what was left of him. Mike looked strangely emaciated, like despite being gone only for a few days, he had somehow wasted away. He was sickly pale, and I realized that despite the dismembered bodies all around, his body and the others were absent of any large amounts of congealed blood. It was like something had drained them all. My horrified stupor was broken when another message arrived. Colder. But hey, look, you found the losers. 3 minutes, and then it's my turn. I panicked and started scrambling into other rooms, throwing doors open and looking under rotting furniture and in every conceivable hiding place. I had around 2 minutes left before I was out of time. When I stumbled into the last room I hadn't checked yet, the light of my phone went out, and I knew it had to be there. One last message splashed on my screen before my phone died. Hot as fire. No more hints. Good luck. The room itself felt freezing. There was a more subtle and familiar fetor of decay lingering in the air. I was almost out of time, and terrified. It felt just like the last incident. The dark, the chill, the smell, the same suffocating presence. I knew it was there. I was blind and fumbling in the dark. I tried to focus. I felt around the small room which might have been another bedroom. I bumped into what felt like a bed and paused when I thought I heard a raspy breath coming from somewhere in the room with me. I took a deep breath and reached into my pocket for a secondary light source. I knew the flashlight wouldn't work this close, but I had brought a lighter in hopes it couldn't extinguish flames. I flicked it on, and the faint glow of the flickering flame brought dim illumination to the room. I heard something like a startled gurgle and a gasp, like someone trying to hold their breath, but releasing a death rattle instead. I'd been trying to count down the seconds while I searched, and by my count, I had less than 30 left. I threw the closet door open, and there was nothing there. 20 seconds left. I threw open the doors of a crumbling armoire. No one inside. 10 seconds left. Then it came to me. The last place to look in the room. I bent down, held my breath, and looked under the bed. when I saw two glowing eyes staring back at me, and a strange glowing smile growing on the thing's face. I'd seen enough. I screamed, fell down on my side, and emptied the entire magazine of the pistol into the demonic visage. My heart was racing. My ears were ringing. Yet there was no sound after that. The room grew warmer. The smell began to dissipate, and my phone came back to life after a minute or two. I held my breath and turned my flashlight back on and aimed it under the bed. And to my horror, I saw nothing. There was nothing there. No body, no blood, no trace of anything. I stood up and was confused and terrified. I had no idea where it had gone. I looked at the other side of the room just to check, and I didn't see any marks on the wall where the rounds I'd fired should have hit. Something stopped the rounds, but it was no longer there. I sat for a while, alone and confused in that charnel house, until I received another message. "You win. Good job." I was stunned and unable to do anything but just stare at the message in a confused stupor for a while. I couldn't understand just what the hell sort of game I'd been drawn into, and what that thing was that was playing with me. It seemed like I was safe for the time being. My heart sank, though, when I realized I had to do something about the room of rotting victims of that monster. The poor souls who it had claimed were the previous losers of its game. When I walked closer to the room at the end of the other hall, I was surprised when it didn't smell nearly as strong as it did before. I had my phone out and was ready to dial 911 to call for help, but the phone dropped from my hand when I entered the room. To my shock and disbelief, every single body was gone now. Each one of the desiccated corpses had vanished, no trace left beyond a faint lingering smell of decay in the air. Unable to process what I'd experienced, and unable to do anything further about it, I returned home. Once again, I was left with the horrible aftermath of the game, and no evidence of anything having happened beyond my own word and the disappearance of my roommate. I wish that was the end of my story. If that was where it had ended, I suppose I would have been content. But something happened that has made me regret ever telling anyone about this horrible game. I received another message last night, and now I know the game doesn't end with me. That thing, whatever it is, will always find someone to play with, and I know now that I never should have spoken about its very existence. The message was chilling, and the intent was clear. Do you think your friends want to play as well? Perhaps when they're done hearing about the fun we had? I wonder if they will want to play hide or seek. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to warn people about it, but now it's too late. Now it knows I've told others. That thing, whatever it is searching for a new playmate. If you receive a message from a non-existent number asking you to play hide and seek, well, all I can say is that I'm sorry, and I hope you'll be as lucky as I was to survive.